Hello, one and all. Welcome to Americans Learn. My name is Kit. As always, please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and hit that ring bell notification, so that way you're made aware when we upload new content onto our YouTube channel. And joining me today is my good friend Daniel. Good to see you, Daniel. Glad to have you here with us.
I'm coming to you guys from sunny Florida.
That's a lie. That's a lie, Dan. Don't don't lie to our people. Don't lie to
Yeah, no, I'm very much in Chicago. It's just very bright. I'm sitting in front of a real. It's and as we're watching all these, I'm like, it's a nice day out. I'm gonna right after we're done with this, I'm gonna go out.
Oh yeah, actually, it is a nice day. I'll be having a nice little luncheon with some colleagues of ours, and I have to take my shirts to the dry cleaners and just do a few other wonderful little errands. So yeah, but people are not here to talk about what we're going to do later on the day.
They're here to learn history. They're learning about
Exactly.
what people did way back in the day, not in Chicago, not in Florida, not even in America.
There we
We're
go.
gonna learn again some more of what Japan's been doing to Indonesia.
Yes, so we're going to be focusing on, and this is again done by Kings and Generals. Please support the original content creators. That link is in the description box below. The Battle of, I hope I say this correctly, the Battle of Makassar Strait. So I believe that's correct. Again, this is by Kings and Generals. Please support their channel. They're putting a lot of attention to detail into every single one of videos that they do. So please check them out. They do great work. But without further ado, since I'm in charge of the ones and twos, unless Daniel, you got something you want to add in here?
Maybe you watching this can do enough in your life to be a king or a general, and do enough as a king or a general for kings in general to cover your exploits in the next 20 years.
That's right. That's right. And even though established titles is gone, guess what? All of you are kings and queens, and dare I say it, even generals in my
Lords
eyes.
and ladies.
Lords and ladies, princes and princesses of New York. All right. Let's go ahead and pull this video up. The Battle of Makassar Strait, Pacific War by Kings and Generals.
Specifically the Pacific War.
Yeah, specifically the Pacific War. Say that 3 times fast. All right, let's get this started in a 3, 2, 1.
Barely a month ago, the fast progress in the Japanese campaigns across the Pacific had prompted them to start what was one of their most important operations of the war, the invasion of the Dutch East Indies. As we've seen, the main objective of this operation was the island of Java, yet the invaders first needed to take several airports and major towns around it, known to the Japanese as Java's Dehor. Now the Japanese are on the verge of completing their conquest of these Dehor on Borneo, the Celebes and the Moluccas. Concurrently, the island of Java was also one of the main links of the Malay barrier, and its safety was a huge concern for the Abdicom. Seeing that it was to be in huge peril if the cities of Makassar and Banjarmasin fell to the Japanese, the Allies prepared to fight in any manner they could to keep the Malay barrier intact and accomplish their mission to protect the Dutch colony. The stage was set for a very important battle of the Pacific War. If you want to expand your territory without the fuss of a war...
Oh, whatever happened to these people? Horrible timing. I had no idea. So, listen, support Kings and Generals. They do great work. Please be sure to also support Americans Learn while you're at it.
I'm sure they didn't know. No one did at this time.
No one did at this time. So, listen, just because established titles was nothing but a joke, here I'm going to be serious.
There's some real stuff in it, but it's not, doesn't give you the big thing that they offer. Again, right. I own 80 acres of Mars. Good luck enforcing that.
You know something, Daniel? If you need a duke for your kingdom in Mars, I got your back, buddy. But here, I'm going to tell you all something serious, though.
80 acres and what would be 4 space mules.
There you go. There you go.
Never going to see them.
You know what? Dream big, buddy. But I'm going to tell
you're telling me the Great Cheese is not a reliable distributor of land? Really? I had no idea.
But I'm going to be serious here. All of you are kings, queens, and generals in my eyes. And I'm being serious. And that's legitimate right there. All right, let's get started.
Following the events of the last couple of weeks, General Sakaguchi and his detachment had achieved their second milestone in the Dutch East Indies operation, the conquest of Balikpapan. While the Kume detachment was mopping up the area, he was now preparing to launch the invasion of Banjarmasin in conjunction with a naval strike force. But back on January 28th, it was finally decided that he would receive no support from the IJN, and that his main forces would be appointed to support the invasion of Java. He then formed a strong unit under Colonel Yamamoto Kyohei, built around the main strength of the 146th Regiment. The plan for this unit was to rapidly advance towards the city of Banjarmasin after going ashore at Tanagrogot, while a small element of the unit, under Captain Okamoto Yoshibumi, maneuvered along the coast in small boats to land in the southern area of the city and capture the Matapura airfield. On the night of January 30th, the Okamoto unit sailed from Balikpapan and started its advance southwards. The following morning, the Yamamoto unit also departed Balikpapan and reached Adang Bay by the night of the same day. After landing, the Yamamoto unit quickly seized the town of Tanagrogot on February 1st, but the 60 Dutch soldiers of the local garrison had burnt the town before retreating. This began the widespread native support for the invaders and culminated with many desertions on the side of the Dutch. By February 3rd, all of the Japanese forces under Yamamoto had concentrated on Tanagrogot, finally starting their overland trek toward.
It's interesting too. This is being I guess overseen by Yamamoto. As we all know, Yamamoto was the big architect for the bombing of Pearl Harbor, and also was one of the most adamant voices against any conflict with the United States.
Yeah, someone's going to do it, man. So this is interesting because the Dutch are trying to do a scorched earth, and the local inhabitants are like, but not with our stuff.
Exactly.
Both sides are reasonable in their own response.
Oops. There you go. There you go. All right. Sorry, I don't know what happened there, folks. All right, let's rewind that back a little bit and push play.
Overland trek towards Banjarmasin. At this point, Japanese forces were also very close to capturing the important town of Samarinda. From Lower Jinan, Captain Montero had been tasked with delaying as much as he could the Japanese advance towards the important Samarinda II airfield. But his mission was a very difficult one, especially since he wasn't allowed to launch any counterattack. Furthermore, the Kume detachment had already captured the oil fields at Sangasanga, and the Japanese were now ready to continue their advance against the town of Samarinda. Only Montero's men stood in their way. On February 2nd, though, Dutch forces discovered that another Japanese column was advancing from Balikpapan towards Mentawir, forcing Montero to move again his headquarters, this time to the town of Tengarong. But Colonel Kume was also hot on the heels of the Dutch defenders, capturing Lower Jinan and Samarinda by February 3rd, and putting much pressure on Montero's forces. From Tengarong, the Dutch soldiers would continue to offer resistance until February 8th, when the Japanese forces managed to take the town. By February 15th, though, Montero had established new defensive positions at the towns of Benoa Baroe and Cotabangoan, from where he would continue to delay the advance of the Kume detachment until early March. Although the Samarinda II airfield was an important objective of the Japanese, who wanted to secure air superiority for when they launched their invasion of Java, time would eventually tell that it was not needed, as we'll see in the future. Back to Banjarmasin, Yamamoto faced an important problem. There were no roads or bridges in the jungle-covered mountain ranges, making their advance towards Banjarmasin very difficult. Furthermore,
I forgot the Japanese are big on bicycles this whole time.
Yeah. So the lack of adequate roads. So hold on, let's go ahead and rewind that back there real quick, just to see. So lack of adequate roads. The Japanese motored vehicles and over 600 bicycles useless. So they're huffing it by foot.
Well, it's like the Germans are using horses and the Japanese are using bicycles.
Yeah, so by the way, again, just a pet peeve of mine. I hate that alternate history of what would happen if the Axis powers won World War? It's never gonna happen.
They have bicycles and horses.
All right, the amount of hoops you got to jump through.
Yeah,
Just
literally. Do you know how Japan wins World War II? No one fights them.
There you go. All right, there you go. That's
There you
about
go.
it.
That's your answer.
Oh, wait,
Everyone's like, we'll let you take over. No big deal.
Yeah, which would never happen ever. And by the way, the amount of cheat codes. So you want to make alternate history fun and interesting. Stop going with the cliche of the Axis powers win World War II. That's so boring. I know that world would suck. Do something more interesting.
Yeah, the
Very
only place
difficult.
that these kind of worlds exist in are worlds that people in America want to watch on television.
Yeah.
Which is sort of ironic.
Yeah, it's
Oh man, I don't it's like we're not happy with leadership, but we're not so unhappy that we're imagining different worlds where totalitarians control us and go, this is what we're dealing with. It's not very different. Ask the natives and the women of the places that Japan took over. It's not the same.
Yes, definitely that. All right, let's play the rest.
Furthermore, as they clambered up steep mountains, they also had to fend against swarms of mosquitoes, land leeches, and other insects. Yet by February 4th, the Japanese had reached the town of Moyara Aweja, successfully repulsing a small Dutch army, but failing to quickly pursue them towards Matapura. In response, the Dutch executed a scorched earth tactic, causing enormous distraction in the towns east of the Barito River. By February 7th, reinforced by 2 brigades, the defenders also tried to make a stand at Kandangan, but they ended up retreating to some more solid defensive positions at Matapura.
It's like this is like a defensive group in the boonies.
Yeah.
And like then you have like these people who just forced marched like a few hundred miles through the jungle. Guess who has the most determination right now?
Yeah, it's the one that went through the territory with land leeches, mosquitoes.
Yeah. They already had casualties. They already lost 600 bicycles. And that's a heart that hurts. That hurts the heart. My bike's right there. I would never lose it.
That would be devastating. For all you don't know, Daniel is a outstanding bicycle bike rider.
I'm not outstanding. I'm more of an enthusiast.
There you go.
When it's getting to that time of year, when it gets too cold, I don't bike. But when it's above 40 pretty consistently, I bike 6 miles a day. I am so out of shape right now from the winter.
Yeah. This winter has been tough on us all, folks. But no one's here to listen to that. Let's continue on with the Battle of Makassar Strait.
I'm like, oh, they're talking about Japanese bikes. I can talk about my personal. You're right. Go ahead.
At this point, they had destroyed most of the airfields and oil fields in the area to prevent their employment by the enemy, with the evacuation of Banjarmasin also well underway. The Okamoto unit had also captured the port of Kotabaroe on the northern end of Laut Island on February 7th, then continuing southwards and landing on Banjarmasin the next day, trying to cut off the defenders' escape. Yet by February 9th, some Dutch forces had already left East Borneo in boats, heading west towards Kotawaringen and leaving only a small number of men at the Oulin airfield. The following morning, an advance party of the Yamamoto unit finally came out of the jungles and defeated the small Dutch resistance, capturing Matapura with the aid of the indigenous people. That same day, the Okamoto unit also arrived and captured the Oulin airfield, completing the conquest of Banjarmasin.
Well, it's all done. Of the 1,000 Japanese soldiers who took part in this operation, over 800 were stricken with malaria and possibly up to 9 died from sickness. So they all had malaria. They still fought and won, and 9 of them died from the sickness. My God.
I expected more going through the jungle. Can you tell me another time? And by the way, a reminder, World War II was the first war ever fought in human history. I'm sure maybe there's some caveat with a tiny war between like 2 people and a duck or something of that nature. But it is the first war in history that more people died from fighting each other than disease. And I think it's sort of summarized in that statement.
Yeah, I think... Go, Dan.
I was going to say every other war, disease was the number 1 killer.
Yeah, I think the twilight years of the Mongol Empire when they tried invading what was then Indochina, um, like half their forces were stricken with disease from the jungles, and like they couldn't even use their original tactics at all, and they had to retreat. It was like one of the first big major defeats of the Mongol horde. But again,
Yeah.
that entire situation is different compared to what we're
Yeah.
witnessing now. But I mean.
The other two times were when really zippy water hurt them a lot. Ironically, the reason Japan's doing this today is because of that zippy water.
There you go. All right. Let's play the rest of it.
By the way, that would be a fun alternate history.
What's up?
For alternate history hub to do. What would have happened had there not been a divine wind and Mongols do invade Japan? How would history change?
I would. Okay, hold on. I just.
It's a story for another time.
Yeah. I'll add my 2 cents, but I think I have a theory, but I'll say that for another day.
What do you guys think? Do you think that'd be an interesting video?
Yeah, it should probably be an interesting video.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in Ambon, the Eastern Detachment continued their conquest of the island. General Ito had successfully captured the town of Ambon by February 1st, forcing the main Dutch force under Commander Capitz to surrender, and sent notes to the Australian commandos and Dutch soldiers under Lieutenant Colonel Scott to do the same. This message was lost, and the Australians fought on for 2 more days. With Ambon and the northern side of the peninsula secured, Ito then sent his main forces to defeat the stubborn Australian commandos to the south, but they could only establish a foothold on the Nona Plateau due to the strong Australian resistance.
All right.
On February 2nd, SNLF Marines would launch a strong charge against the Laha airfield, but the attack made little progress, and they suffered many casualties in return. In the meantime, however, a small Japanese force that had gone through the jungles into the highlands north of Laha defeated dozens of enemy troops and prepared to launch a surprise attack on the airfield. The following day, this attack was launched into the rear of the surprised Australians.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, now they're surrounded.
Again, unfortunately.
Quickly overwhelming their defenses and forcing them to surrender. That same day, the main units of the Eastern Detachment captured an important highland in the center of the Nona Plateau, getting very close to the southern tip of the peninsula and finally forcing the rest of the Australian commandos and Dutch defenders to surrender. With Ambon now firmly in Japanese hands, Ito would command mopping up operations for the next 2 days, then starting to prepare for the invasion of the island of Timor. We now take a quick detour towards the Marshall and Gilbert Islands, where 2 US carrier task forces, under the overall command of Vice Admiral William Halsey, launched aerial raids on February 1st,
That's right. Hey, and look who it is. It's the USS Enterprise. Not the ship from Star Trek, but the other Enterprise, the one that was in the water. So there you go. Flagship of this operation of Task Force 8.
Japan's taking all of Indonesia, America. Haha! 2 Mile-Spur Islands, a perfect target.
That's right. And dare I say it, good luck to the forces under the Vice Admiral. But let's see where this battle goes with the Enterprise and the fleet surrounding it.
inflicting light to moderate damage on the island's garrisons and infrastructure, destroying 18 aircraft and sinking or damaging several enemy warships. Concurrently in the Philippines, intense fighting continued across the Orion-Bagak line, but especially at the Quinoran and Anyasan Point, Japanese and Filipino forces were in a bloody struggle for control of the coastal points. Even despite their numerical superiority, the Philippine scouts and constabulary forces were simply not strong enough to push the invaders back, and on February 1st, they would face a serious threat. Trying to secure control of the Quinoran Point, General Homa sent his last reinforcements during the night, but they would fail to land at their objective due to the strong aerial assault of the 4 remaining P-40s, an intense artillery barrage, and the deadly attack of American PT boats that sunk half the Japanese force.
All right.
Forced them to go ashore
Finally.
at Canas Point.
There you go.
Now completely alone, the 600 Japanese soldiers at Quinorin began to slowly concede territory at high cost for the defenders. And back to the Orion Bagak line, the fierce American resistance had taken a heavy toll on the Japanese soldiers. After nearly a month of continuous fighting, the battered 16th Division and 65th Independent Mixed Brigade were discouraged and battle-weary. Despite this, General Nara persisted with great tenacity in his efforts to break through the eastern sector of the line. Alas, his efforts would be in vain, with each attack being repulsed by the Allied defenders.
Wow.
In the west, though,
Hey.
General Morioka fared much better, breaking through the 1st Division's jungle positions, but having his force split into 2 pockets behind enemy lines. In response, General Wainwright launched attack after attack against the Big Pocket, in which the Japanese could block north-south traffic and hinder the movement of troops westwards, but they were continually repulsed, with the invaders even expanding towards the west. Only by cutting their supply route behind them could the Americans really threaten the Big Pocket.
There you go.
Meanwhile, by February 5th, the Filipino
horses
forces at
doing?
Quinorin
Yeah, they better do something.
had been reinforced with a tank platoon and 70 men from the 21st Pursuit Squadron under Captain William Ed Dias, successfully cornering the Japanese to a small area at
By the
the
way,
edge
can you
of the
pause that?
point.
I want
Yeah.
to make a guess. If they're able to take out that pocket of Japanese, I think that the pocket that's up to the north is all of a sudden going to get reinforced with more American troops that are freed up.
There you go. That would be great.
Led by Dias, would embark from Mariveles in 2 armored whaleboats and gunboats on February 8th, then landing at Aglaloma Bay and decimating the
Aha!
remaining Japanese soldiers
All
that
right.
had gone into
Japan,
hiding
we
in
can
some
land
caves.
people as well.
That's right. That's right. All right. Here you go. A 1-2 punch.
Oh, and they got casualties.
With opposition at
Let's see. Okay, great. Okay, so we have 600 casualties from the Japanese Imperial Army and U.S. Philippine forces, 500 casualties. Oh my goodness.
Quinorin Point terminated at last, the Allied defenders then concentrated on the remaining points that were still under the control of the invaders, finally overtaking these positions and bringing an end to 2 entire Japanese battalions by February 13th.
Nice work.
Wow.
On February 6th, Morioka prepares to launch a general offensive to
how's the kid?
re-establish a
All
supply
right,
route
hold on.
with
Hold
the
on.
big.
Sorry about that. Didn't hear you the first time.
This all started with the Marines at Wake Island.
You're welcome, MacArthur. And I do know, yes, the Philippines do fall later on, but I'm looking forward to that video. U.S.
I'm not
Army.
looking forward to the Philippines falling, but that's just me.
No. When we retake it, thanks to a few Marines. You're welcome, Army. You're welcome, MacArthur. We got it from here for you, buddy. Don't worry. We got you back. We got you back.
Big pocket by employing a recently arrived battalion of the 33rd Regiment. Initially, the Japanese assault went really well, breaking the main line of the defenders and getting perilously close to the Big Pocket. Yet the efforts of Wainwright's men eventually paid off, and the invaders' advance was stopped. This allowed the Americans to concentrate on reducing these pockets, which came at a great cost for the defenders. Even despite the employment of tanks and the establishment of a cordon around the pockets, the ferocious Japanese could not be subdued. By January 9th, though, the little pocket had been abandoned, and the men fell into a trap to the west, where they were completely annihilated. With his offensive bogged down on both fronts, and the Battle of the Points lost, General Homer had no other choice but to order the withdrawal of all of his engaged forces all along the Orion Bagak line to some more secure positions. The soldiers under Nara then began to disengage and move north, while Morioka tried to support the evacuation of the men at the Big Pocket with another attack of the 33rd Regiment. By February 11th, the Japanese managed to successfully escape from the Big Pocket under heavy American pressure. The almost 400 soldiers would arrive back to friendly soil on the morning of February 15th, after a march of 4 days through enemy lines and thick jungle. By February 20th, the invaders had completed their withdrawal, and Homer was ashamed to request reinforcements from Tokyo.
What?
The transfer of the
Wow.
4th Division was then approved, but it would take time to get it to the Philippines from Shanghai. In the meantime, the 16th Division and the 65th Independent
Wow.
Mixed Brigade would have time to reorganize, rest and refit, while a tight blockade would be enforced upon the Bataan Peninsula so the defenders could not escape, successfully capturing the island of Mindoro on February 26th. Nonetheless, this was a tremendous victory for the battling bastards of Bataan. Turning back to the Dutch East Indies, the staff of the Abdicom was very worried about the rapid progress of the Japanese advance through the Pacific. The main naval base of the Allied command, based at Surabaya, was within range of Japanese aircraft since the fall of Kendari, sustaining a heavy pummeling on a daily basis, and the battered naval forces of Admiral Hart were definitely outnumbered in the Pacific. Yet their bold raid on Balikpapan during the start of the battle had a very promising outcome. So Hart decided to form the Abda Striking Force, initially consisting of several American and Dutch warships, led by Dutch
Pause it.
Rear Admiral Karel Doorman.
Okay.
Let's just see what we got. We got a light cruiser. We got two more light cruisers. We got some destroyers. We got a heavy cruiser, light cruiser.
And
So
seven destroyers.
a light flotilla, roughly, with like a heavy cruiser involved.
So let's see. Hold on. We got the Netherlands. Okay, so there's 2 light cruisers, 3 destroyers, so 7, so 10 destroyers altogether. So 3 light cruisers. Okay, so it's all right. Not too bad. Let's see how they do.
By February 3rd, the Allied forces had gathered east of Surabaya, then preparing to sortie the following night to head through the Flores Sea towards the Makassar Strait, where they had learned that the IJN was going to carry out a landing operation. Hart's surprise attack was actually very risky, because the Allied fleet had to transit during daylight, where they could be easily discovered. Furthermore, Japanese bombers had already sighted them during one of their daily raids, so the element of surprise was already lost. During the morning of February 4th, Japanese airmen from Kendari finally pinpointed the exact location of Doorman's forces near the Kangean Islands, so Rear Admiral Sukahara Nishizo of the 11th Air Fleet launched 36 G4M and 24 G3M bombers to get them.
Oh no.
From the get-go, the Japanese aviators went for the Allied cruisers, dropping bombs over the Marblehead and the Houston. Although the Houston skillfully evaded all bombs, the Marblehead was hit hard on the quarterdeck, suffering heavy damage.
Oh no.
The final attacks were then launched against the Houston and the De Ruyter, with all of the bombs missing except for the last one. This scored a devastating hit over the Houston, causing severe damage on the American cruiser. By midday, Doorman realized that his forces were in great peril, so he started to retreat west back to Surabaya. The first operation of the Abda striking force had ended in a fiasco, but at least they hadn't suffered any sunk ships.
Thank goodness.
Meanwhile, with the mopping up of Ambon finally completed,
and the
Japanese
report
invasion
were like the goal was to get the Japanese to use as much aircraft fuel as they could, and we succeeded.
Yeah, and the thing is, in many ways, we have to look at the fact that oil, gas is a very precious resource for the Empire of Japan. It's eventually going to get to the point to where they're going to run out, and run out quickly.
Fleet, commanded by Admiral Takagi, departed Kendari on February 6th, escorting the Sasebo force of SNLF Marines for the conquest of Makassar. Due to Doorman's failure at the Makassar Strait, this fleet was only hindered by a US submarine, which actually managed to sink the destroyer Natsushio. Despite this, the landings proceeded according to plan on February 9th, and soon the 1,000 Dutch soldiers of Colonel Voorman were overwhelmed and forced to retreat into the jungles. The capture of Makassar marked the fall of the Celebes, where only some small guerrilla groups continued to operate. This also left the road to Java open at last.
Hey, nothing against those guerrilla fighters. There you go.
Yeah, I didn't know there was a place called the Celebes. It's a good. I like the name. It sounds very pretty.
Yeah. All right. The quote from Daniel. Celebes. Sounds like a pretty name.
But still, there was one major objective that the Japanese wanted to capture before launching their main offensive, the key airfield of Palembang in southern Sumatra. But you'll have to wait a little bit for that, as next week we'll cover the beginning of the critical Battle of Singapore and the final conclusion of the Malaya campaign. Thanks to established title.
Okay, we're gonna stop there. No. Established titles is not. It's not what you think it is. But all of you are kings and queens in my eyes, and dare I say
you
it,
refer to me as Your Highness.
There you go. So, Daniel, your thoughts on this? Interesting and outstanding video. The Battle of the Makassar Strait.
Yeah, so I think the big one for me was Japan lost a tactical battle, and they had to retreat and call reinforcements, which means they're going to win the next time because they know what they're up against.
Yep.
And they're going to have air support. I mean, they're going to have all the things that they need to push them off. But the fact that Japan lost on a wide front against an army, that was big for me. I thought that was pretty important. I appreciate, even though the guy that, I forgot the guy's name already, that tried to do that sneak attack to try and get those transports, I thought it was a worthwhile venture. It sucks that he got spotted.
Yeah.
He probably should have done better at that. I'm not sure the situation exactly.
What he could have done. You mean Admiral Doors, Vice Admiral Doors? Yeah. Well, I thought
that was a worthwhile try. He's trying to do something to change the situation because he's sitting there in port every day. He's getting bombed. What's he gonna do? Wait for his ships to get sunk? And so he's like, I'm gonna try and do something. I'm gonna try and stop an invasion fleet and just get spotted. That sucks. But he's trying to do something. And then, of course, more territory keeps getting lost. Meanwhile, the U.S. is at the east of all this. Like, hey, we got some carriers here.
It should also show everyone how ill prepared all those light cruisers, heavy cruisers, and destroyers were if they didn't have aerial support or an aircraft carrier with them. It's already the aircraft carrier is changing the face of modern warfare, and this is the thing. If you don't have the equipment necessary to counter what your enemy's throwing at you, well, then you're gonna lose some of your ships, tanks, etc., etc., etc. So there you go.
Yeah, when they, it sort of reminded me of just now, just as I was thinking about the ships. Do you remember in the third Lord of the Ring movie when what's his name is charging out in that suicidal attack on the horses to retake the ports? And they all shoot the arrows.
Yeah, it's Boromir's brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they do that. Yeah, they do that. They do that charge. I mean, it was good effort, but you lost a lot of your heavy cavalry units. So there you go.
The way when that moment happened, when they launched like 60 planes in response, I sort of had that kind of a reaction to it, like with the arrows.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's not good.
No, not good at all, folks.
And then they didn't sink anything, which was really nice.
Yeah, so I guess the anti-aircraft gunners were really doing their job, and on top of that, perhaps the environment also played a role with and not to mention the crew too. The ship crews were able to avert any kind of real catastrophe. Yes, some of the ships did get hit, but shout out to the crew members. And let's actually open up the conversation too. There were Dutch, British, and American ships in that joint fleet. To our viewing audience, did you have a relative in that fleet? Share your thoughts, stories. Put it in the comment section below. We'd like to hear back from you. Yes, we do read the comment section.
Yeah, we know we're just filming these, a little bit ahead, but we're reading the comments. I think from our point of view, episode 4 or 3 just came out of the main story, so I think we're like a couple weeks ahead. But we read the comments.
Yes, we do. We do read the comments. So share us your thoughts, and until then. Please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit that ring bell notification for Americans Learn. That way you're made aware when we upload new content onto this YouTube channel. And also, please support Kings and Generals. They do great work as well. So, hey, support the original content creators because a lot of work effort and research are made into these awesome videos that we get to learn from. So until then, folks, we'll see all of you on the flip side. I'm Kit. This is Daniel. I want all of you to keep on winning. I am up out of here, and so's Daniel. Bye-bye.